Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Platform 101 podcast. I'm really excited today to be joined here by Michael Roth, Tamer of Platforms, which actually is a really good intro to Michael. And so Michael is, I guess he would be certainly one that I would think would be right up there in terms of being really hot on Power Platform administration, which might not seem like something that's interesting until you've got flow chaos, apps chaos, environment chaos, and everything in between. So I am so pleased to have Michael with me today, not just because he knows about Power Platform, but he also likes a little bit of board gaming in between. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, and thanks for having me. Tamer of Platforms. Quite interesting because you just said it might not be interesting, but as soon as you work on the Power Platform with someone else, like as soon as there are 2-3 people, then you need to have at least a little bit knowledge about, well, those parts.
Exactly. And I know from having seen a great many of your presentations that really is that is your bag, that's your big thing.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll touch on some of those presentations because they have been an awful lot of fun. What I like to do is I like to start and then call it reminisce about when we first met. And I know many times that we've met, but I'm not sure if I know the first time that we met.
Yeah, same here.
And obviously you're one of these people that when we get together, like it doesn't feel like it was a long time since we last got together.
Exactly. We always connect to the last bit that we left off, and then it feels natural, but it makes it. I bet we've met at the Scottish Summit in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. So, something along those lines. And then last year, I went to your session. I'm not sure about the name of it, but it was really fun because it was very magical. And you had this, like, your presentation was done out like a magical spell book.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure what the title of it was, but you went through administration kind of through the lens of this magical experience, which was really, really fun.
Yeah, I think I called this the big bag block of the forbidden arts, called governance. Basically, it turned out I think I watched a short on Instagram or YouTube or someone where someone was making this transition effect of a book. And I was like, I like that. And then, I have a session. I have a deadline on that. I need to do something. So let's do a book. That was in Slovenia, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Give me a second. I mean, maybe I'm too fast for that, but I
gave you that, didn't I?
Yes,
exactly.
Played it. Almost. There is a tragic story to me and board games, or me and my family and board games, but maybe later.
Okay. So... obviously it is interesting that you have gravitated towards administration. Everyone has their thing. Mm-hmm. There's an awful lot of people out there that will wax lyrical about HTML controls and making buttons whiz around and so on. And to be honest, there's so much cool stuff in Power Platform, and you have gravitated towards Power Platform administration. So I would love to understand your journey to how you've got to where you are and maybe what you're doing in Power Platform at these times.
To be honest, I would love to understand this. I can at least talk about it, how this all happened. Power Platform, I think I started to work with Power Platform somewhere in 2017, 2018 maybe.
That's quite early days, even before the name Power Platform, I reckon. That's that far back.
That's possible. I'm not sure. It's been so long. I do come from a M365 SharePoint Office background.
Okay.
I worked, I think, when was that? 2015, 2016 or so. I started to do change management and user adoption and all that kind of jazz, which I really, really liked. And then somehow I was recognizing myself doing the things twice and 3 times and 4 times. And I always say I'm lazy. So when you work with Office, then you stumble at some point around automation, Power Platform. And I thought this sounds interesting. And I was reading the documentation and all the advertisement text, like it's easy, it's low code, everyone can do that. So I don't have an IT background. So I thought, hey, cool, maybe I can do that too. And I think then I somehow built my first flow, which was just a tea timer. I put the tea bag into the cup, and then I press a button to get the reminder, take it out before it gets too strong and too bitter. That was my first flow, 2 steps.
Do you know what? I think if I actually did that in my own household, then I might have some more respect than I currently get, because I don't know if you know much about Friends, but there's one scene where they have this quiz, and whoever wins the quiz gets the apartment. At the end of it, the killer question is, what is Chandler Bing's job? And they basically don't know what his job is. And that is exactly the same for me. Maybe I probably haven't explained it well enough. And it comes up in all of the games that we end up playing. Oh, power ups this. And it's like, okay, great. But yes, they don't know what my job is.
Yeah, I know that feeling, especially when I talk to my friends or parents, or I end up with something with computers. But yeah, and sometimes it's super difficult to explain it to someone who just works as an office job with computers, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But you have to be like a special kind of nerd, I would say, to really dig into that and learn all that stuff. So sometimes it's tricky to explain this. I get this, absolutely. Well, yeah, I coded my first flow, so to say, this two action flow, a tea bag reminder. And then I was kind of on a run. I was like, this is easy. I can do that. And then I tried the first Power app. And I think, I don't really remember what it was, but I think it was like an example app for someone who sells floor tiles or something like that.
Yes.
I remember those images, and I had no idea what I was doing. Nothing worked. It was super frustrating, and then I left it all together.
Was that half in a day that you did then?
I think so, but on my own style, like not in a scheduled training or something. Yeah. And had the documentation on one screen and the maker portal on the other screen, and nothing worked. It was horrible. So then I thought maybe flows, maybe that's my kind of thing.
And don't you think that's interesting, that your experience, which possibly wasn't a good experience, but possibly not for the right reasons, then, like a little twig on a river, sent you down a particular path? You know, and maybe if you'd made an amazing app, you'd have done something different.
Well, the thing is, it wasn't at that point in time where my, let's say, fate was decided, because I got better in flows until I hit those purple actions, all those conditions and those variables. I had no idea what a variable was. It was like no IT background. That was a complete riddle to me. So I decided maybe I can try an app again, and maybe from scratch, like not something like that felt too complicated. So I tried every now and then, and I got better after a while. Mm-hmm. And since I worked at that time part-time as a graphic designer, I was like, Canvas app, that is your thing. You're a designer, you know what to do. Not really. So I got better at apps and flows as well, and I learned all the technical bits and details, and it was a lot of effort, but many people from the community basically had my back, and I could ask all the time. Mm-hmm. That was the time where I met community, I think in 2019, and I just asked the most stupid questions imaginable, but that helped me on my way. And at some point, for a short time, I called myself even Power Platform developer, because I created apps, Canvas apps and flows. Model-driven, still a mystery to me. I'm really bad with Dataverse and databases and stuff like that. And I was booked on projects to develop apps and Canvas apps and flows and all the solutions. Sure. So I did this. Horrible effort. This was so much work. It was so complicated. I was so frustrated. I was screaming at the PC, and I was really like, I was honestly hitting my limits with the limit of frustration that I could take. I felt like a little kid. I was angry. I want to stomp. I want to scream, because I felt like I was too stupid to get this damn code to run.
You probably sounded like you should have had another cup of tea.
Yeah, probably. Something calming. But then I realized I do like to see myself as a tech person, to sit in front of a code editor and with a dark hood and something like this codey thing. But then I realized I don't like to work as one, and that was a very important difference. I do like the image of sitting and writing code the whole day, but I don't like sitting on a computer and write code the whole day. That is something that I've learned the hard way, and so I realized others are better than I in developing apps and flows. They are faster. They are more creative. They know what variables are. So I decided I need something else. I'm not sure if I remember how I got into governance and administration. Usually I say I'm German, so I love rules and regulation, and so administration, governance, security, the fun bits, those are for me. Now, honestly, I have no idea how I get into that, basically. I think I deployed the Center of Excellence starter kit a little bit too often.
Right.
And then I was torn into the whole governance situation. But I kind of like it.
Yeah. And governance changed an awful lot, I think, in that period of time. So apps have changed, and they've changed on what feels like a more incremental level. Like maybe containers came in. Great, we've got containers, and maybe this thing comes in. But the way in which governance, I don't know, it is a bit of a dark art as well as everything else, because you know, if you come across a company and say, for example, they haven't used Dataverse at all, you're probably thinking, fantastic, nothing to clear up. Whereas companies, you know, say, oh yeah, we're okay with Power Apps, and you know, because we've been making them already, we're thinking, oh dear. What am I letting myself in for here? And first stop is going to be, let's look at the default environment and see what's going on there.
Yeah, I just had this today, a couple of hours ago. Have you touched Power Platform before? Nope. Okay, cool. Like, we have like a clean canvas. And then you switch up the Center of Excellence starter kit and you'd see 130 apps in the default environment. Okay, someone is lying here.
Yeah,
things have happened. But the point is, you were saying Power Apps and all the other services from Power Platform, they change all the time. But often I feel that you get new features, like containers, for example, or new features to do something even cooler than before. With governance and the security parts, I have the feeling they change it completely. They introduce a complete new way of thinking about it, and then they put it behind premium licenses, obviously.
Yes.
And then they change it again. So it's something that I realized, and what I tell my customers and all my people around me all the time is, even if you've learned it once, you have to keep learning. There is no time where you can sit back and relax, because every 2 weeks there's something new, and it might be completely new that actually requires you to redesign everything that you had. Sometimes exhausting, but kind of fun to think about how to... It's more or less like a solution architect. Like you orchestrate the whole IT landscape and all the people and the processes are working, and that is really fun, for me at least.
And so continuing it with your journey then. So far you started off with Microsoft 365 and SharePoint. That was your route in. You built some apps, then you built flows. Then you maybe had a role where you were building apps and flows. And then you decided other people were better at making those apps and flows. So that kind of like, you kind of, I'm not saying drifted into governance, but it then started to feel like maybe an opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And now I remember where I was, or at which company I was working when that happened. It was a small company, and I think in the Power Platform team we were only 3 people. The one was really good at Flow. The other one was getting really good with Canvas apps and model-driven apps. And I had the opportunity to delegate more and more tasks towards those two. Yeah. I was like, nice. Cool. They do the parts, and they had like the time to really dig into the documentation, to test it, to really go in. And from my experience as a change management guy, like the one who are talking to the customers and explaining and being like more like a people person, I delegated the tasks of the technical stuff towards them, and I could talk to the customer, and that was easy for me. But then I realized, then I don't get better with Power Platform, and I tend to drift towards the role of like a project manager, and I don't want to be a project manager. I do have ADHD, and it's horrible for me to multiple different things at once. That doesn't work. So I was in that situation where I thought I need to do something with Power Platform that is not figuring out the technical details of a flow or an app or whatever, and still talking to a customer. So I was the one who talks to a customer and explains how the Power Platform works, what they had to look out for, what are environments, how to assign a security role. So everything around apps and flows. And then, kind of logically, that turns out into the governance and administration part and bit. Yeah. And from there, I kind of felt lost, because there's hardly any documentation or like a learning pathway or certification or something like that. There's I think admins deserve a little bit more love than they currently get.
And it always feels like... it feels administration and governance become important when things go wrong or when things go out of control. Yes, you can start with you can start with the best of intentions and think you've got governance right, and it may be that it is right for that point in time. But of course, if you've got a business that says, "Oh, great, well, we're going to do this now," and of course, take something simple like environments, and environments having security groups, which means that the only people that can work and consume those apps in those environments have to be in that security group. If the organisation then kind of, for want of a better word, changes its mind and says, well, actually, no, we want it to be for these people, you go, well, how's that going to work, and so on. I think that and of course, a customer, an organisation, won't be thinking of governance at that time. They'll be thinking of, well, I had an app and I just want a different app. What's your problem? I want one that's like that.
For example, no one thinks about governance up to a certain point. That is really interesting. And I have this conversation almost on a weekly basis where they say, well, it's low code. Microsoft says it's easy. Everyone can do it. So then is the realization, the sudden realization that from per default, when you first get access, like everyone has access to everything and everything's wide open, the gates are open.
Yeah.
And as soon as you just show that to the customer, they're like, oh, wait, we don't want that. Who agreed to that? And then, of course, the devil is in the detail. I mean, security groups, they define the access to an environment, but not to the database. And the application is rooted in the database. So security group is not that thing. Then the next question, how do you manage your security group? That is a user admin, not the Power Platform admin. So you have to talk to other people. Yeah. How do they manage that? Then Entra ID still on-prem? Okay, let's go. And then if something changes, if business units change or something, then the whole construct can really get shaky. Then it's always fun to gather a group of administrators in one room and say, okay, so we are a team now. That's what is kind of fun, and the struggle with Power Platform administration. You can't do everything on your own. You always have to rely on your co-workers and all the other admins. Sometimes you need the global admin, sometimes the user admin, then the exchange admin, and you have all the effects of all those admin centers and services. You realize that in Power Platform, and that is kind of wild.
And I think you're touching on something that doesn't really come out very often. I don't know, when you're, looking at a YouTube video, whatever it might be, and you're really talking about that. There's a time when you're working in an environment, and there's a time when you're actually working in essentially Azure. And so you're thinking about permissions, but actually the permissions, in part they exist within Dataverse, but in part they also, the way in which you manage it exists within however it is you manage your AD groups. So for example, if you have a single Canvas app, you can share it with a person, and then you can share it with another person and another person, and by the time you shared it with 4 people, you're starting to get a little bit like, this doesn't feel right, does it? This doesn't feel like the right way of doing it. Therefore, and it's at that point you then start to think of security groups and other constructs which exist within Azure. So kind of going back the way we used to call them. I'm used to calling them Entra ID groups. What were they called before? I can't remember now. It used to be on the tip of my tongue the whole time.
Active Directory.
AD groups. No. It was AD groups. Yes. Yeah, Active Directory groups. So which is not the same as distribution groups, which is what a lot of people it's very easy to miss. Yeah. So I'm wondering now, and so has that journey of yours taken you through a number of organisations? Let's get us all the way up to 2025. Does that take you through a number of organisations?
Yes, I think since I started working, like after leaving university, I've always worked in consulting, and which by default you see a lot. I always say, by default, you see lots of organizations because you have different projects. But I know a few consultants that have been at one company for their whole life, basically. So basically, every month I have 2 or 3 new customers. Usually, where I work, our company, we come from a history of, or they come from a history of CRM projects, and those are rather long and big projects. With Power Platform, our project is done in like 2 or 3 weeks. So I have lots of projects, lots of customers, and I don't stay too long, but I try to at least be memorable enough so that the administrators can ping me afterwards if something goes wrong. Yeah, because it's. I think it's a very complex topic somehow. Because if I just take the example that you gave with the ID groups, the Power Platform administrator can't create new Entra groups. So if they want to set up an environment, they need help from someone else who has rights and the roles in Azure. And that is something that makes it tricky and complicated for lots of people who are new to Power Platform administration. And especially, I think, 95% of all the 95% of all the people that I've met, they became Power Platform administrator by accident.
Yes.
Usually they're the person that they played around with Power Platform the most, and then you're in the wrong meeting at the wrong time, and boom, Power Platform admin. And this is so completely different from anything that you did before. It's just amazing.
It does feel like you become an admin. You know, you have that line of people and they kind of do that thing where whoever would like to be the Power Platform admin step forward.
Yes, and everyone steps back. And you just missed it. Exactly. That's how it works. Yeah.
No one would ever tell you that. Yeah.
One day I would like to see that in an organization like really where everyone in a team speaking is like, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, and that takes you up to the present day. So, and it's actually very interesting to think that you would be on short-term projects because by definition governance is long term.
Yeah,
you don't just do governance for a couple of weeks. Governance has to last for a long time.
Well, the governance has a few challenges. The first one is when I go into the first meeting with a new customer, we're like, okay, what is your tenant settings right now? What is the as-is situation? And then you make kind of an analysis, and then you have like 20 bullet points of things you want to improve right now.
Yeah.
And 25 bullet points you might think about, like an environment strategy, security groups with environments, all these kind of things. And the more you talk about it, the more you can improve or implement. Like, for example, a governance process that is, if at some environment someone want to publish an app, you have to go through an ALM process, like development, test, and then production.
Yeah.
But if this is an application that, let's say, is not for your personal productivity, but for team productivity or business productivity, like business critical applications, maybe you don't want to host it in some personal environment, but you want to host it in an IT hosted environment. How do you avoid that the IT is getting ticket after ticket after ticket to assess different applications because they have to host it now? Do they get like documentation in case something went wrong and they have to troubleshoot? Yeah. How do you make that all happen? And how do you realize and implement that? Then the next part is you need some kind of monitoring flow to detect all that. Who creates it? Who develops it? That is kind of the work for a developer in some point. So you could go on and on and on and on. And if you tell that customers up front, listen, next 2.5 years, you and me, we are going to do things and we need more resources because we need developers, we need the C-level management to make decisions, then we need change management to inform the users and train them on the platform. This is a project that is like, I don't know, $500,000 or something like that. Yeah. No one would say yes to that, especially when they know Power Platform is low code and it's easy. So why do I have to take care about all of this and why does it cost so much money? Yeah. So there's always a struggle between, like, I like to do a base setup and give you, like, I make your tenant secure and then I give you the guided tour of the administrators that we do. Yeah. Like, this is what you need to do and this is your base setup. And then you can automate and improve all your processes time by time, but this never stops, basically, because the more you work with it, the more good ideas you get. So this is a little bit tricky to basically the management of expectations. I just want to know, so customers often say, I just want to know these 5 buttons that I have to press or switch to make it all secure, and then we are done, right? And if you say, nope, this is a lifelong journey, get comfortable with it, they usually don't say, okay.
So I'm gonna sort of imagine a customer. They presumably come to you at the point where they probably realise
it's too late.
They probably believe in the system a reasonable amount. They don't come to you when they've just built one app. They come to you when they have some level of commitment to Power Platform, and they think we really want to get this to change our organisation. And if they're lucky, they're doing it early.
Yeah.
If they're unlucky, they're actually saying that they want to do it and they actually already have problems. And of course, one of the challenges is that if an app is in environment A, and really the best place for it to be is in environment B, that means the URL is going to change. That means the sharing is going to change. This means that wherever it's living at the moment, that's all going to change, which could be, depending on the organisation, it could be significant.
Maybe I would like to add this when customers approach me and when we start to talk. I have one customer right now, and they have some kind of an organizational carve-out going on, so they are migrating to a new tenant.
Yeah.
A brand new tenant. No one has ever touched it. And they were like, should we think about governance and security right now, or can we do that later? And I'm like, by God, please, let's do it now, because now we have everything that we have the time. We don't have any users. We don't have processes that are running and apps, stuff like that. So we can do this right now. That would be great, because the longer you wait, the longer you have to clean up. And cleaning up things requires time and therefore money. It just gets more expensive. And most customers actually come to me, those are the administrators or the IT departments, and they say, the business is crying for Power Platform, for God's sake. Now we have to implement it. How do we do it? And at this point in time, usually multiple flows and apps have already been created, because due to trial licenses, developer licenses, viral licenses, all that, all the users, they just buy themselves a license and use that. That's possible as well. So you usually find...
Nice thought.
It's interesting. Most people don't realize that, but if you are working in your organization, you can just buy your own license, and the IT doesn't realize that, because it's.
And when you say
possible.
You can buy your own license, is that with your own money?
Yeah. So if your organization,
that's brilliant. That's a brilliant move by Microsoft.
Absolutely. So if your organization doesn't allow you to use Power Platform, just buy yourself your own license, get yourself a developer environment. It's absolutely possible, and then you start doing it. And then when it's already there and implemented, it's difficult for the organization to take it away for you without looking like the bad guys. So it's a brilliant... Microsoft is really, really good with this. But for administration, it's kind of a nightmare situation. So the recommendation is, if you think about, or if you haven't thought about governance and security administration of Power Platform, right now is the best time, because as early as possible is really the best thing. And there's lots of things that need to be considered when you start out. It's really, it's a rabbit hole.
So I guess the conclusion of all this then is probably just, if you're at all concerned with administration in Power Platform, just call Michael. I think that's just going to be the best option.
I have to write this in the Microsoft documentation at some point, because this is the ultimate truth. Absolutely.
Very good. Oh, do you know that I actually wrote the documentation, or I at least reviewed the documentation for model-driven apps?
No, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I kind of went through all the documentation for model-driven apps. I'm not saying I'm the world's expert on it, but I do love them. You don't get into model-driven apps?
No, not really. I don't get the logic. I mean, I can get behind Canvas apps. Like, I have a button, and that button needs logic, and I have to put in the logic, and I have to put in the names of the fields that I want to touch. That makes sense for me. But the views and forms and all that, and a data model is something that is admired if someone turns it out, like all the connections and what is your primary key and stuff like that. That's cool, but I don't get it. It just...
I think they're so lovely. I think they're so cool.
The point is...
also, the other thing is that when you have a Canvas app that works off Dataverse, it absolutely loves Dataverse. Canvas apps absolutely love Dataverse. And funnily enough, I was going to do a survey at some point and ask people, when they build a Canvas app, would they also build a model-driven app if they're using Dataverse? I don't think I would ever build a Canvas app. If you can't make it work with a model-driven app, you will never make it work with a Canvas app. You're going to be making this. You're going to be making this crazy thing. I'm sure that there will be hundreds of examples of people kind of putting together things with like bits of wire and sticky tape and so on, and saying, "Hey, look, I made this thing work, Rory." Ha!
Yes, we will make it work all right. Yeah.
And so...
No, but it makes sense to think of it as two sides of one medal. I see this quite often when we have like a nice Canvas app, and the Canvas app where the UI is important for the users. The developers I work with, they usually spin up a model-driven app with the same data sources just like that on the fly, at least for the administrators, to customize and set up the Canvas app, which makes sense. Love the idea that they can do it just like that. That is go really quick if everything in Dataverse is already in place. Still, it's a mystery to me.
Well, something that hopefully isn't a mystery to you then, I'm going to move on to the kind of my standard questions that I ask all of the guests that come on to the show. And we go into this sort of something old, something new section of the show. And so first of all, could I ask you, from your point of view, something old in Power Platform that you still think is quite cool and worth knowing about?
I don't know if it's a Power Platform thing, but the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, this more or less garage-like solution from Microsoft, from the PowerCat team, that is still valid today. I still used it today and deployed it, and I absolutely love it. There are 2 apps in there that are just brilliant. They can never be replaced. I still love it. I know that Microsoft is bringing lots of functionality to managed environments or to those model-driven system apps that are automatically deployed to every environment, but still, no, the COE Starter Kit is the thing to have.
Yeah.
Period.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert on it in the sense.
I became one.
Probably in the same way as you're not an expert on model-driven apps and you believe in them. I'm not an expert on the Centre of Excellence, but I know. I think one challenge with it is around the permissions that you need personally to be able to run the Centre of Excellence. I don't think you need to have environment permissions at level X in order to be able to have a Centre of Excellence.
Well, you need to be Power Platform Administrator, and you need those as a permanent role, so they can't be hidden behind PIM or something, because then the flows would stop and everything would crash. But to be honest, the COE Starter Kit, I always and almost just use it for the administrators, and I just use the Dataverse tables and one app basically, and the Power BI report. So everything else which is in there, like cool applications around environment requests, I need to change the DLP, there's a request for the user, the app catalog, cool apps for the users, but they're all model-driven apps, and then they require all a premium license, 1 or 2. Most customers I meet, they say, no, not for all of our workforce, that is just too much. So I only use a fraction of the COE, but this one is something that is absolutely, that you can't be replaced ever.
I think there's a presentation waiting to come out there.
I believe it's a short one.
Something new then, something that is, it doesn't have to be new like last week new, but something that's come across recently you thought, thank goodness for that, it's a game changer.
I have something new, like 2 days new. That was, I think, two days ago. It's just a minor thing, basically. Data loss prevention policies for desktop flows.
Oh, okay.
Don't require a premium license now. Okay. For the last 5 years now, Microsoft said if you want a DLP and you want to include desktop flows in your DLP, you want to cover them, the desktop flows with the DLP, then you need that. That only works in managed environments or if you have a premium license. And I always said that doesn't make sense because I would need to include that in my DLP anyway. And then Microsoft was like, well, for desktop flows, you need a premium license, so it makes sense. You already have premium licenses if you use desktop flows, right? So it's not like we've put it behind a paywall. The security DLP settings. But the point is, and there was one minor loophole in the whole situation, is if you use Windows Pro, like Windows 10 or 11 Pro, like every organization on the planet does, you get a free version of Power Automate Desktop, a light version. So every user, regardless if they have a premium license or not, can use Power Automate Desktop. But you can secure it because that would require a premium license.
Okay.
So
you've essentially locked out all of these people that you said, hey, we've given you this product, but actually you can't.
Well, no.
Really?
They can use Power Automate Desktop, but the administrator or the security team or whoever is in charge, they can't secure it. They can't assign a DLP to it because that would require them to have a premium license. And that is it doesn't make sense.
And it would require the creator of the Power Automate Desktop
to have a premium license, yes. But with their version of Power Automate Desktop, they wouldn't need a license to create it. So you can't apply the DLP to the environment where the people are building it. And that was basically a security loophole.
Okay.
And now finally, 2 days ago, that's changed. So maybe this is important to be on the record. Microsoft changed a product that required a premium license and made it available to everyone. That is kind of new in this whole history of Microsoft, I guess. But this is kind of a game changer. And now I need to visit all my customers again and tell them so that they change this.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was something new. Something borrowed then. So tell me about something that somebody else has created. You don't need to kind of, tell me the exact post, but it could be the person or it could be someone where you think, do you know what, their content, that's always decent.
Yeah. Well, on the one hand side, I'm kind of lucky because there isn't too much content for administration and governance out there. On the other hand, the content that is out there is absolutely brilliant. Valentin Mazar, I think. He's from Switzerland, I think. Or he works in Switzerland at least. He has a blog that's called powertricks.io. Amazing. It's still my number one source for different applications. He's developing and publishing applications on GitHub to basically fix the things that Microsoft forgot, like permission applicators, where you can check different permissions in different environments. His applications are basically the XRM toolbox for all the people around governance and administration. So, because I think the XRM toolbox is a great tool that I haven't fully used and understood yet, because it works a lot with Dataverse. But Valentin's applications are absolutely brilliant, and he has great blogs that I still use from time to time, that I still check. Have I forgotten anything? Nope. Still valid. Good. Thank you. That is really great. And he's really active in our community. We have an administrator and governance community on WhatsApp that we hopefully want to...
Behind my messages.
Well, it's a lot of communication and chats going on there. But we want to turn this in a user group this year. That would be great. And all those people in this community, they are great. Yeah. They are answering their questions and putting in problems online. That is a great administration community. But yes, something borrowed. Valentin, brilliant mind.
Okay, so there's Valentin. And then something blue. So this is something that frustrates you in Power Platform.
Yeah. I have a few things. Let's see how to put it. Well, on the one, I mentioned this before, and this is the whole part. When you become a Power Platform administrator and you just get the role assignment or the rights, or this is your new job or something, then you start to Google and you try to find information how to be a Power Platform administrator, and you basically found nothing. At least from the official documentation, it's really tricky to find something like opinionated guidance from Microsoft, what you should do or shouldn't do. To be fair, the documentation got better. We have a few of those sites that say how to start, how to secure your tenant, but they are all very well hidden. And I think since Microsoft is placing or announcing the platform as something you can do everything with, and it's getting more business critical from that, they should put more effort into security and the administration bits, because sometimes as an administrator you feel lost. And I think that's kind of unfair, because it's like with basically in IT, if everything works right and smoothly, no one thanks you because this is your job. If everything crashes, no one thanks you because why didn't you do something about it?
But on the flip side, you do have loads of co-pilots. So what would you rather have?
Can I change my answer? Can I change my answer for something blue? And let me say co-pilot. In fact, I thought about, should I say co-pilot on this show? The point is right now, I think, and I got this information or this view from Claire Ashton. She is really a brilliant mind when it comes to security and Power Platform. The M365 Copilot is collecting and connecting data from M365 world to the Fabric and Dataverse world to over the Azure world. It's connecting basically everything. And she said a couple of weeks or months ago, if this box is opened, it's almost impossible to close it again. And the whole Copilot...
Is it opened, or is it at the moment, is it just a box?
It depends on your tenant settings and your licensing situation. But if you start to play around with Copilot, a lot of things happen in the background that you don't get rid of. I'm on a tour right now to all my customers, and they all have the same question. I noticed the new environment in my tenant, the M365 environment. What is it? Where does it come from? What does it do? It's a new environment that is automatically created by M365 Copilot scheduled prompts. If you try out a scheduled prompt, you get a new environment, which is nice, but no one tells you about it. And that is something that if you open that box, then things will happen in the background that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
Many people or many customers who don't actively use that much Dataverse or Fabric, and they just have heard about it. They use it somewhere in the background, but they don't know what it is. And now the data from Fabric is pulled with M365 Copilot into that knowledge base, basically. And that is something now every user can access. And that is something that we try to avoid, because not everyone should know everything, sometimes for their own good. But that is something that is maybe, let me change my answer to Copilot. I mean, I do like AI. I think it's amazing what we can do with it. As often with technology, it always depends on what our intentions are. So we have horrible AI oopsie moments that we've seen throughout the last years, but we can do amazing things with AI in so many good different use cases. I love it. I mean, I work with it on a daily basis, but the security and administration bits, well, Microsoft is a little bit behind, I would say. They could do better.
This conversation could go on an awful lot longer if I opened the box of just saying, well, you know, and I don't think you can answer this in a short way, but this idea of it's a low-code environment. We have simple ways of making things. Should we? Do you see what I mean in terms of you make a plan? You say, hey, I want a thing and it'll do this, and and then it creates 10 tables. Maybe they're related to each other. Maybe they're actually the same as some other tables you've got already. And is that a good thing? Have we done good here? And is it, because it would be, oh, great, I'll have a beef Wellington. Brilliant. I wonder what sort of mushrooms are in it. Let me check. That was... But do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah. So the question, low code brings us lots of opportunities. Should we? We really go into this. And I just thought about my kids. Sometimes my kids, when they're younger, like 4 years old, 5 years old, they want to try out a lot of things. Like, Dad, I want to climb up that tree. Can I?
Yeah.
I like to climb trees and I like to discover things. So I let you. But I make sure that if you fall, then I can catch you. I let my kids do even dangerous things in a secure way. I just make sure they don't get so badly hurt that I don't know, that something terrible happens. But I let them experiment.
Is that why you haven't played Scout with them?
No, that is a different situation. We have another board game on the table for 4 days now in a row. It's all set up. I've built it up and everything's set up. Everything is ready to go. And I tell my girlfriend, now let's go. I will explain the rules. And she said, yeah, well, no. Is there a YouTube video? Yes, there is. I set it up. We can learn it together, this new game.
Aww.
Not today. Tomorrow, I promise. And then tomorrow comes and there is something else. And then we have I don't know. Then we are on a day or something. We tend to, we have a difficult time to get into new games. Doesn't matter how tricky, difficult, or easy they are. We have a pile of games that we haven't touched yet.
Yeah,
and it's not only her; it's me as well.
Nah, it's the thing of all gamers, isn't it? Really. So, and then the final question is, what of the things that you have done that you are most proud of, or would want to shout about the most?
Yes, I do have something. I thought about the whole day. And this is something a couple of months ago, I would say, I was negotiating with my employer because I wanted to give my own class, my administration class. I want to help other administrators advance.
Yeah.
And for this, you need a lot of content and time. And so this isn't a free course. This is a free class. And you even get a certification at the end, like something that I created. Yeah, but so I needed to go independent on that. And I was my employer, they had to agree on this. They had to approve this beforehand. And they said yes. So that means now I have a little bit of a side hustle teaching other people to get better administrators. And so now I'm kind of freelancing on the side and helping organizations to get better with that. And I help administrators. So, and I just published my portfolio on my blog. So people can actually contact me and work with me on my very own. And the cool thing about it, I'm more affordable than those huge consulting organizations. Mm-hmm. Usually I don't do week-long projects, but I help administrators a couple of hours a week, something like that, like ask the expert, like an open office hour, something like that. And that is really fun. But if people are listening and they're like, damn, I would love to talk to Michael and give him money for that, or even learn something, like, is this the best way that we can do that? Because I don't want like opinionated guidance from an official Microsoft partner, because sometimes they sell the Microsoft way, which is good, but usually quite costly. So that is something that I'm actually really proud of. And I'm still a little bit too afraid to make it my main business. But at some point, maybe when I'm grown up.
You let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, and I'm very bad at asking people to like and subscribe. I love it when people do comments on the YouTube videos. I love it. You can just say anything, to be honest, and I always respond to them, and it's so nice. A like is nice, that's good, but if people make a comment, that's even better. It means that they got further into it and so on. So anyone like, subscribe, hit the dot and all that sort of thing, so you get notified. And so now we've kind of finished the technical part of this discussion, and we're just going to head into the fun part, if you like. It has been fun already, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always like to ask my guests, what is their desert island disc? And would you like to introduce your desert island disc?
Yes. First of all, my desert island disc was so tricky to pick. So I have a Desert Island Disc of the Week. So this week, if I go on the Desert Island this week, it is Let It Go from the Punk Rock Factory, which is a punk rock version of the Frozen Let It Go. And I just love the energy. I do love punk rock covers, basically.
Yeah.
I need that. I think I will put it on later on when I clean the flat.
And I was listening to it earlier. Is this punk rock, is it an actual band?
Yeah, it is an actual band, but they just do covers.
Yeah.
Of Disney movies, of old Disney cartoons, of musicals. So they do nothing else but covers, and in a brilliant way.
Yeah, and the guy's voice on that Let It Go, because this is essentially Frozen Let It Go, and so just imagine a sped up version of Let It Go. Guy singing, he has got a wicked voice. He hits all the notes. You know, I think there might be a key change in there, so it kind of does go a bit higher as well. He absolutely nails it. It's a lot. It's quite fun. And so the band itself, I was listening to it earlier on, but they're called Punk Rock Factory, and it's Let It Go, and it is an awful lot of fun, and I can totally see why you'd have chosen that. And it did make me think that maybe the hair colour also suits the Let It Go theme as well. I can't join you on the hair colour, but you know,
it's the hair on the inside that matters.
Plenty of bristles on the inside. So what I'd like to do now is firstly to thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I always love these chats, and I always feel that if this chat, it was only ever a chat between me and you, and it was known, and obviously my mum listens to it. I just can't. And when she finds out that we're going to be talking about Power Platform administration, she will stop making the blackberry pies that she's been telling me that she's making recently. And she is going to be like, right, that's it. Come on. She'd say to my dad, Brendan, we're going to sit down and we listen to Michael and Rory talking about platform administration.
All right. She's doing blackberry pies? Blackberry pies.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. She sent me a photo. It's like, what are you doing, Mum? What are you sending me a photo for? Like, I want to eat it now.
Yes. Pie.
So
damn it, now I want pie.
So thank you so much for coming on. Any last words to say to these future administrators?
Oh God, yes. So for anybody who has gotten into the position to get Power Platform administration job, seek help and friends. This is absolutely 100% team effort and not solvable on your own. Don't get lost. Just let go of all those expectations and do this as a group effort.
Cool. So I'm going to play us out on a song that I've been learning recently. I Shall Be Released by Bob Dylan. Now I know you don't know it, but you might know it, but you don't know you know it. So
let's see. Here.
They say everything can be replaced, but every distance is not near. So I remember every phrase